50% Chinese, 15% Malay, 7% Indian, and 2% of Eurasian and others. Eurasian are a sort of mixture of Europeans and Asians. A lot of them are around because previously Singapore is a colony of the British Empire, and Singapore has had its fair share of racial trouble in the olden days before it became independent. There were protest riots, racial clash between the Malay race and the Chinese race. And so when Singapore was founded, racial harmony was one of the key policies that the government focused on. So even in terms of the language, it was decided that the Malay language is the national language of Singapore, is to respect that Singapore was once a Malay village. However, English was chosen as the official language, and as it was a neutral language, so our parliament actually is in English, everything is in English. Road signs, everything is in English. So, in terms of education, all our public school conducts classes other than language classes, they are all in English. And our unique place is that we have a second language. English as a first language is mandatory, but we can choose a second language that allows each race to so-called preserve their heritage. And there are cases where there's a difference whereby a person raised from the race of a Chinese, they choose to study Malay language or the other way around. So it's a kind of a beautiful thing I find. And in terms of housing, Singapore has a special policy that prevents a certain amount of people from a certain race from staying in one sort of public housing. Okay. They calculate the numbers of each race, and they have come up with a certain quota. So this is to prevent, like for example, one part of Singapore is just full of the Malay people, or one part is full of Chinese people, or one part is Indian people. So they want to mix everyone around, so that prevents a segregation of race. And in the national level, we actually have a day that is being designated as the Racial Harmony Day. And it's where kids usually dress up in each other ethnic clothes, and we party and have fun, something like this.
Wonderful.
And our political party in Singapore, we have mandated that there must be members of all minority race in so-called a team that contests in a GRC, constitution, in order to have fairness, so everyone's opinion is being taken into account. And lastly, the law. The Penal Code of Singapore has included a law that penalizes any form of hate speech and any form of attempts to disrupt the racial harmony of Singapore. It's actually quite a heavy law. The punishment is, I think, more severe than crimes like theft and such. It's even more. It's equivalent to like murder and such. I think a few years ago they came out with this new act called the Maintenance of Religious Harmony Act. It allows the government to issue a restraining order against anyone that they find has caused feeling of enmity, hatred, ill will, or hostility between religious groups. So this addresses another part of racial harmony, which is religion, which is often a very big issue with racial clashes. So I think with that, I end my discussion.